I've opened this session called Editing Music Tracks. This isn't about editing the notes that make up the music. This is about editing a mixed music track, the kind you might find in a music library. So if you're new to this, there are some terms to cover. For just a while, let's pretend that all music is in 4/4. I have two tracks for us to work with. I'm going to mute and hide the second track. This is a transport window. Remember, it's a floater. It always floats to the top. For now, I'm just going to park it down here near the bottom. And let's take a closer look at these timeline rulers across the top. They're all just different ways of counting time. In bars and beats, here's bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. But if I zoom a little tighter, I can see that spans now to bar 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, etc. Zooming in gives you more accuracy on your timeline measurements. Obviously, it does in seconds, but it also does in music when we're working in bars and beats too. So why do we measure beats per minute? Well, we could measure beats per second, but then we'd be dealing in little fractional type numbers. 120 beats per minute is 2 beats per second. Imagine a marching band. That's usually the tempo that they're at. We decided a long time ago that we want to have the timeline display show useful information. So in this case, I'm just going to Option click, Alt click on a PC, the other fields here, and get rid of them. So I'm only looking at what I care about, which is bars and beats. Now, sometimes in library music, they tell you the beats per minute, but let's say that this one came without that information. So let's see how much music we have here. I muted and hid the other track, so we should just hear this track. This is much slower than 120. How can we calculate the tempo? I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this, and then I'm going to make a case for the third one, the timeline method. First is tap tempo. If keyboard focus is off, and it is, and you have a tempo field showing, which you can either have in the header by showing MIDI controls or expanded transport. In my case, I'm using the transport here at the bottom, and there's the tempo field. And the conductor is inactive so that I actually can control the tempo. Notice as I change this tempo, those grid lines line up with different waveforms. I want that field selected. And then I can use either a MIDI device if I've gone to Preferences in the MIDI tab and chosen Use MIDI to tap tempo. Or, better still, since keyboard focus is off, I can use the letter T. I'll tap the letter T on the beat, as close to it as I can get. Watch this number change as I do. This has to be lit up like that in order for this to work. So it moved from about 96 to 97 to 98. So which is it? Well, you can see that the waveforms have kind of lined up, but not exactly. Not enough for us to chop this up, slice it and dice it on the grid. That's method number 1. You can get pretty close, but I don't think it's quite as efficient as you want it to be.